The synopsis of what I'm doing is in the description. So, like I said, this is just my thoughts series, volume 7 and volume 8. So, this is volume 7. I'm gonna cover is two artists. I'm gonna cover Prince, and I'm gonna cover in the next in the next topic. I'm gonna cover Mariah Carey. So, but here I'm gonna talk about the life history of famous musician Prince. Is achieved worldwide fame in the 1980s and with 1999 in Purple Rain to the latter album that's also serving as a soundtrack for a popular film of the same name. And who was Prince? Early Prince's early music career saw the release of Prince Dirty Mind and controversy which drew attention for the fusion of religious and sexual themes. He then released the popular album 1999 and Purple Rain, cementing his superstar status. Drew attention and for their fusion in religious and sexual themes. Then released the popular album 1999 and Purple Rain, cementing his superstar status with number one hits like When Doves Cry, Let's Go Crazy. And a seven-time Grammy winner, Prince had prodigious output included later albums like Diamonds and Pearls, The Gold Experience, and Musicology. He died on April 21st, 2016 from an accidental drug overdose. In the early life, he was a musical innovator. Prince was born Prince Rogers Nelson on June 7, 1958 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. His parents were John Nelson and a musician whose stage name was Prince Rogers, and Maddie Shaw, a jazz singer who performed with the Prince Rogers Band. And Prince became interested in music at a young age and taught himself how to play the piano, guitar, and drums. And his parents broke up when he was about the age of 10. He and his family and his sister split their time between their parents' homes. He eventually ran away and moved in with neighbors, the Anderson family. In high school, Prince formed a band, Grand Central, later known as Champagne, with Andre Anderson, who later changed his name to Andre Simone and Morris Day. In 1978, he signed to Warner Brothers Records, and in 2009, an interview with Tavis Smiley, Prince revealed that when he was a child, he suffered from epileptic seizures and he was teased in school. He told Smiley, "Early in my career, I tried to compensate by being as flashy and as nosy as I could." From the band The Revolution, Prince went on to create a classic album, Purple Rain, which also served as the soundtrack for the film of the same name, grossing $70 million in the U.S. box office, co-starring Paulina Cotero and Day, and the movie garnered an Academy Award for Best Original Song Score. It's melancholy that the track reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, while the hits When Doves Cry and Let's Go Crazy both reached number 1, while Crazy readily joined the pantheon and wild, electrifying rock songs When Doves Cry and one-of-the-kind signatures, displaying an outwardly meldable electronic and kind of signatures. A meld of electronic and funk elements without a traditional chorus. And the soundtrack offered two other hits, I Would Die For You and Take Me With You. Prince simultaneously became a well-known visual icon with his trademark curls, flowing jackets, and ruffled attire with punk embellishments. Darling Nikki was another time for Purple Rain that incited controversy due to its explicit records, and after Senator Al Gore's wife, Tipper Gore, bought the album and their daughter and listened to the track, she eventually pushed for albums to sport labels that warned parents of graphic lyrics. In 1985, it saw the release of Around the World in a Day, which had the top 10 tracks Raspberry Beret, a whimsical mid-tempo tune, and Pop Life. The record continued to feature Prince's penchant of a playing range of instruments and desire to impart messages of self-love, as seen with Paisley Park, and a track inspired by the name of Minneapolis studios. And he released his 8th studio album, Parade, which included the pulsating number 1 R&B single, Kiss. Parade served as a soundtrack for the artist's second film, Under the Cherry Moon, which he directed and starred in. Career takes off a controversy in 1999. Prince dropped In 1978, Prince dropped his debut album For You, followed by Prince 1979, which practically of all the instruments on the albums, the sophomore release contained his top 20 pop hit, the easygoing I Wanna Be Your Lover, and the critically acclaimed Dirty Mind, dropped in 1980, consisting of material that was graphic in its exploration of sexuality and fantasy. Controversy, 1981, continued playing with the themes of its predecessor as seen with a dance-oriented title track, reached number 3 on the R&B charts, and as well as songs like Sexuality and Do Me Baby. Yet, Prince continued to develop his career. He would also be known for tracks that had deep spirituality with a yearning for majesty and wonder. The singer found international success with the release of his 1982 album 1989, which included the top 20 title track, an exquisite synth folk ode to nuclear doomsday, and as well as the top 10 hits Little Red Corvette and Delirious. Sign of the Times, Batman soundtrack. After disbanding the Revolution, Prince was able to consolidate various shell projects, which ultimately became the double album, Sign of the Times, reaching number 3 on the pop charts and number 1 in R&B. And album was also known for stark commentary on social issues. Also contained fun jams like You Got the Look. A Rake was duet with Scottish singer Sheena Easton, reached number 2 on the pop charts. And Penn and lasciviously charged R&B pop hit Sugar Walls, and from the 1984 album Private Heaven. Sign was easily among Prince's most critically acclaimed albums, yet its sales lagged in the U.S., finding more of an audience in Europe, where the artist launched a successful tour. Maintaining its prodigious output, Prince released Love Sexy in 1988, and known for his album cover featuring a photo of the artist as nude, as well as a top 5 up-tempo R&B hit Alphabet Set. And by the time his release, his 11th studio album, the soundtrack to the Batman in 1989, Prince became one of America's most commercially successful pop artists, continuing making waves on the charts. Batman offered up the number 1 romp Bat Dance, as well as the top 5 R&B hit Party Man. And the video for Bat Dance featured Prince in split effect makeup and costuming, meant to symbolize both the film's shadowy hero and Carey's nemesis, the Joker. The early 90s, the new power generation. Early 1990s marked the launch of the new power generation. Prince's latest melody featured a blend of commentary, R&B, hip-hop, jazz, and soul, along with vocals of Rosie Gaines. The groups was the first called out in the soundtrack to Graffiti Bridge, 1990 sequel to Purple Rain, that didn't fare well at the box office, yet still yielded the top 10 track Thieves in the Temple. With MPG's artistic contribution, Prince found success with his album Diamonds and Pearls, which rose to number 3 on the Billboard 200 album charts, and Diamonds included the romantic titled ballad The Industrial Strength Get Off, and the playful, peen, insatiable, and saucy number 1 single Cream. Prince's work with MPG continued to unshamelessly toy with ideas around sexuality, gender norms, and the body. To promote the album, Prince had appeared on the 1991 MTV Music Video Awards to do a live performance of Get Off, echoing parts of the track's music video. It featured an array of dancers and musicians on the stage, Bachano, and with the artist famously turned around towards the end of the song to show off his seatless pants. The fall of 1992, Prince had signed a record $100 million deal with Warner Brothers, and which was considered the largest recording music publishing contract in history at the time, and allowed him the freedom to pursue TV, film, book, and merchandising deals separately. And comparison, fellow industry plants, or excuse me, industry giants, excuse me, Michael Jackson and Madonna, 60 million plus contracts that were all inclusive. And collaboration. So, provocative performances aside, Prince had well established himself as a in demand collaborator and behind the scenes player whose songs were made by other artists. In the mid 80s, Shaka Khan released the elaborate, highly successful cover of his 1999 tune I Feel For You, while Sinead O'Connor's biggest hit was Prince's Nothing Compares to You, and The Art of Noise and Tom Jones reached the UK top 5 in 1988 with the remake A Kiss and Alicia Keys cover How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore on her debut on her own 2001 debut. Prince also worked on a specific album tracks for performers like Khan, Madonna, Tevin Campbell, and Kate Bush, The Time, Martika, Patti LaBelle, and Janelle Monáe. And he was behind the girl group Vanity Six, led by singer actress Vanity, and the number one dance hit Nasty Girl. And he sent the song to all the women's bands, the Bangles, that they could record. They would record to great effect, reaching number two with the lush ode to a successful workday, Manic Monday. Prince symbol, the artist formerly known as Prince. The lack of success for the Love Symbol album created tension between Prince and his record label Warner Brothers over the ensuing years. The singer's career went through a roller coaster of ups and downs, turned off by a feeling controlled by his label. Prince changed his name to the unpronounceable glyph, and in 1993, a fusion of female and male astrological symbols, which he used until 2000. And during the time, he was frequently referred to as the artist formerly known as Prince, and his new symbol was not embraced by most fans. And he also started making appearances with the word slave drawn on the side of his face, meant to convey the great disdain he had for the label. Prince did release the 1995 album The Gold Experience during the time of duress, scored another top 5 song with The Most Beautiful Girl in the World. Once he released an all contractual obligations to Warner Brothers, he released a triple album fittingly entitled Emancipation, which went on to become the certified platinum and featured a soul remake, Betcha by Golly, while several other albums affiliated with his MPG label soon followed, including Crystal Ball, 1998, and Rave Unto the Joy Fantastic in 1999, Musicology, Super Bowl, and more accolades. So after several years of relative obscurity, Prince returned to the limelight in 2004 to perform at the Grammy Awards with Beyonce Knowles. The same year, he was inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That spring, he released Musicology, and with a tour that it became the top concert draw in the United States. The album won 2 Grammys and was added another Jimmy ballad called My Name to Prince canon. Then his next album, 3121, released in 2006, that year he wrote, performed the song Song for My Heart for the animated film Happy Feet, and won the Golden Globe for Best Original Song for the composition. In 2007, he performed the Super Bowl halftime show on a massive stage, shaped his famous symbol in pouring rain, and the event was watched by 140 million fans. In 2010 was the year of accolades for Prince, and he was not only lauded by the Billboard.com as the greatest Super Bowl performer ever, but he was also featured in the Times Magazine's 100 Most Influential People in the World, and earned a Lifetime Achievement Award from the BET Awards, ended the year with induction to the Grammy Hall of Fame. Opposing to changing industry model, and with the advent of the internet and the primary force of distributing music, Prince was against the trend of having songs shared at will on the web. He railed against the idea of providing his songs to online music platforms without proper upfront compensation and profit sharing. And even with his tracks eventually found on the Jay-Z back streaming service Tidal, he was one of the few pop artists to have full ownership of his masters, and he was diligently via web share erasing examples of his music, including videos and live performances from the internet. And he was thus behind the Lens versus Universal Music Group case, which successfully pushed for the YouTube removal of A Baby Dancing to Let's Go Crazy. On April 21st, 2016, Prince was found dead at his Paisley Park compound in Minnesota. This week prior, his plane made an emergency landing, and the singer was hospitalized for what was probably a severe case of the flu, though reports later said that the musician was actually given a life-saving safe shot for a Percocet overdose. The Carver County Sheriff's Department and the Midwest Medical Examiner's Office launched an investigation into the cause of death. The autopsy performed. His remains were cremated, and the close family and friends gathered for a small private funeral on April 23rd. And almost 2 weeks after the musician's death, lawyer revealed that Dr. Howard Kornfeld, a California-based physician who specializes in treatment for those dependent on and addicted to pain medication, had been called upon by Prince's team to aid the musician, and the performer undergone surgery some years later was believed to have endured recurring discomfort while giving concerts. Kornfeld's son had reportedly flown into Prince's compound to initiate the recovery process and was among those who found him dead. In the state of Prince's health at the time of his death is unknown. Attorney William Muzzy said the artist was dealing with a grave medical emergency when Kornfeld was called, reported by the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. Okay, so his personal life. Prince was extremely private about his personal life and preferred to spend time at Paisley Park compound away from his celebrity spotlight. 1980s, Prince had a long on and off relationship with the singer-songwriter Susanna Melvin, a twin sister of Wendy Melvin, and a guitarist in Prince's band, The Revolution, and was romantically involved with the summer extraordinaire Sheila E. The two worked together on her albums The Glamorous Life, featuring the top 10 pop and R&B title track, The Romance 1600, showcasing the single Love Bazaar. On Valentine's Day 1996, Prince married the backup singer and dancer Maddie Garcia, and the couple had a son, which was born in 1996, October 16th, and died after a week later from Pfeiffer syndrome, a rare genetic disorder. Prince and Garcia divorced in 1999. And in 2001, Prince married his second wife, Manula Testolini, who had been employed by one of his charitable organizations. Their marriage ended in 2006. After the divorce, he had a relationship with one of his musical proteges, singer Bria Valente. The Beautiful Ones memoir and tribute. March of 2016, it was announced that the pop superstar was working on a memoir tentatively called The Beautiful Ones. According to Billboard magazine, Prince spoke to an audience at a music event about the memoir. This is my first book. My brother Dan, co-writer Dan Peppenbring, is helping me with it, and he's a good critic. That is what I need, and he's not a yes man at all, and he is really helping me get through this. We're starting from the beginning, from my first memory, and hopefully we can go all the way to the Super Bowl. Okay, so last thing I'm gonna read to you guys. Although he passed away shortly afterwards, his collaborators continued to work on the project. October 2019, Penguin Random published the 279-page The Beautiful Ones, combining Prince's unfinished manuscript, photos, scrapbooks, and lyrics. Okay, so this is, I'm going to read the quick facts real quick. Um, Prince birth year 1958 and birthday June 7th. Of course, he's from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and worldwide fame in the 1980s and 1999 with Purple Rain. Industries is rock and pop. Of course, his sign is a Gemini. Everything. Okay, so now that we got that out the way, so what are my thoughts about Prince? Prince has always been like my top five favorite singers of all time. He's always been, in rotation, man. My favorite album of his had to been his self-titled in 1979, and my favorite song from there was "I Want to Be Your Lover." That was just an incredible song when I heard it, just the first time. And my second favorite album had to be "Sign of the Times," and just the jams like "You Got the Look," "Adorn." Those were just some of my favorite songs off that project. And really, just overall, he was a fantastic vocalist, instrumentalist. He did so much, played so many instruments. He was a master of instruments, and especially at a time, he was just ahead of his time in so many ways. And he just knew how to go through and make the art that he wanted to make without nobody, without having a whole lot of hearing a whole lot of criticism, a whole lot of mess. His ideas, he was very creative. He was very inspirational for a lot of people of today's time. And the fact that he collaborated with a lot of artists prior to what he was going through with Warner Brothers and what he was going through, you know, personally, he really, stepped foot forward. I think after Controversy, and I believe like right after the album Graffiti Bridge, you can kind of see, his music started to go a little bit down further afterwards because I feel like he spent so much time addressing in his topics of his records, a lot of like, formality, a lot of, form of sexual, expressing more about sexuality, expressing more about, you know, uh, tracks that had a lot of deep spirituality as well, yearning for majesty and wondering as well. Um, in his later half of his music, also my favorite movie, of course, is Under the Cherry Moon. That was like a fantastic one that came out in 1987. I really enjoyed that one when it came out, man, and that was really something. I can't. I cannot highly recommend him enough to anybody who has not heard of him. But if you, of course, you have heard of him, of course, you would know him, and especially in early to mid 1980s, he was battling with Michael Jackson for some of the biggest charting successful records, albums, and trying to battle for the spot on MTV. Just for that alone, man, he did his thing, and I cannot highly recommend him enough. Of course, uh, 1999, that was an album that kind of catapulted and kickstarted because he also was going through battles, musically, staying in relevancy with Rick James. That was just a way of keeping his name going further. Him and his bands, The Revolution, later on. After right during the time when he did the album Graffiti Bridge, and of course the song Thieves in the Temple, another one, underrated record that does not get talked about as well. That song was something special, something monumental as well, man. Prince just knew how to gravitate and grab the crowd and really move the crowd. Just overall with his guitar playing, man. He had one of the best solo guitar performances, at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I believe in Cleveland, because a musician friend told me this too. When he had one of his top solo guitar performances, even the rock artists, the rock bands, and the rock artists was just so impressed, was so floored they couldn't almost believe it. They just couldn't almost believe how incredibly talented he was, man. So, would I highly recommend Prince to anybody who hasn't heard of him? Absolutely. I definitely recommend him to mostly any and everybody who has not heard of him. Absolutely. Um, so yeah, those are my thoughts. Prince Rogers Nelson. Prince, go by the name of Prince. Man, rest in peace to him, man. He did so much for the game. And my next artist that I'm going to talk about, the next song I'm going to talk about is Mariah Carey. So for the ladies, make sure you kind of watching this as well. So Mariah Carey, with hits such as "Vision of Love" and "We Belong Together," singer Mariah Carey holds the record for the most number one songs by solo artists in Billboard Hot 100 history. Mariah Carey, now singer, and singer's mom and sister died on the same day, and she was grieving the deaths of two family members. The 55-year-old singer confirmed on August 26 that her mother, Patricia, and her sister recently died on the same day. Recently died on the same day. Switching both hands, guys. My hand's kind of getting up. My heart is broken, and I have lost my mother this past weekend. Sadly, in a tragic turn of events, my sister lost her life on the same day. Carey told people, I feel blessed that I was able to spend last week with my mom before she passed. And I appreciate everyone's love and support and respect for my privacy during this impossible time." And she didn't share details about the cause of death, but the Times Union reported that Allison died in the hospital care following complications with her internal organs. Additionally, Mariah, estranged from her sister, in her memoir, she revealed Allison gave her drugs at a young age and put her in a dangerous situations, writing that it was emotionally and physically safer for me not to have any conflict. In 2021, Allison sued the We Belong Together singer for potentially causing her emotional distress over the contents of the book. The lawsuit was unresolved when Allison died. Jump to Who is Mariah Carey? Quick facts, early life, albums, number one songs, movies, American Idol and Mariah's World, net worth, ex-husbands and kids, bipolar diagnosis and quotes. Not going to go over too much of everything, but just I want to give you just a kind of more of a brief explanation of who she is. So it was Mariah Carey. So legendary singer Mariah Carey recorded 19 number one songs, more than any other solo artist in Billboard Hot 100 history. The native New Yorker became an immediate sensation with her 1990 self-debut album. Thanks to her five-octave range and popular love ballads, by the end of the decade, Carey had released a diamond-certified albums. The Music Box, and Daydream eclipsed Michael Jackson's record for the most chart-topping singles by an individual. And her 2005 album, Emancipation of Mimi, became the year's best-selling record. And the five-time Grammy winner now stands as one of the most commercially successful artists of all time, with 200 million albums sold worldwide, and her hit songs include "Vision of Love," "Hero," "One Sweet Day," with Boys to Men, "We Belong Together," and the modern day holiday classic, "All I Want for Christmas Is You." And quick facts: born March 27, 1969, Huntington, New York, married to Tommy Mottola, and has children Moroccan and Moreau, and she's an Aries. Early life, she was on a Long Island to Alfred Roy Carey, a Venezuelan aeronautical engineer, and Patricia Carey, a voice coach and opera singer. Alfred and Patricia divorced when Mariah was 3 years old. Her parents had three kids together before they split, and Mariah is the youngest. She had an older brother named Morgan. Her older sister was Allison, and Allison died in August of 2024, the same day that Mariah's mother died. Her father died in 2002, and young Mariah stunned her mother by imitating Patricia's opera singing as early as the age of 2. And she began singing lessons at the age of 4, and eventually Mariah developed a voice that spanned 5 octaves. Few singers have achieved this octave feat. David Lee Roth and Yamas Samak among the handful of people that have done so. After graduating in 1987, Harbor Fields High School in Green Lawn, New York. Mariah moved to Manhattan, and then she worked as a rater, and a coat check attendant and studied cosmetology while writing songs and actively pursuing a music career at night. Mariah had one of the most successful debut albums in music history. Follow up her self-entitled record with 1991's Emotions. When she was 18 years old, Carey attended CBS Records party with Brenda K. Starr, and who Carey had started singing backup in concerts. Starr convinced Carey to bring along one of her demo tapes. She intended to give up the tape to Columbia's Jerry Greenberg, but Tommy Mottola, the president of Columbia Records, later Sony, intercepted it before she could hand it to Greenberg. After listening to the tape on her way home from the party, Mottola signed Carey immediately. Since then, Carey's released 15 studio albums, include one soundtrack, but one of those has made it into the Billboard 200's top 5. 6 albums have reached number 1 worldwide. The pop diva has sold more than 200 million albums. She's the 4th best-selling female artist of all time in the United States, behind Rihanna, Taylor Swift, and Beyonce. Mariah Carey and Emotions, and after singing her first record contract, the burgeoning star set to work on the first album, Mariah Carey, in 1990, including 4 number 1 singles, Vision of Love, Love Takes Time, Someday, and I Don't Want to Cry. The self-titled album debuted in that June, went platinum within 2 months and sold 9 million copies by the end of the decade, a critical success to boot. Garnered 5 Grammy nominations, including all 4 major categories: album, song, record of the year, as well as best new artist. And she won the latter category in 1991 Grammy Awards, as Vision of Love won the trophy for best female pop vocal performance. Her second album, Emotions, released in September 1991. The title track became her fifth number 1 single, while Can't Let Go and Make It Happen were additional hits. The following March, Mariah Carey appeared on MTV's Unplugged, and the televised performance was released as an album and a home video, resulting in another number 1 single, a cover of the Jackson 5, I'll Be There. Music Box, Merry Christmas, and Daydream. Carey soon reached even greater heights. Her new album, Music Box, 1993, cut back a bit in the lavish studio production techniques heard on her previous albums and included number 1 singles Dream Lover and Hero. Music Box also became Carey's first diamond certified album, having sold 10 million copies by November 1997. She first laid claim to the title Queen of Christmas in November 1994 with the arrival of Merry Christmas, the holiday album, which Carey was hesitant to record, combined traditional Christian hymns with new songs, most notably All I Want for Christmas Is You, is now a modern Christmas classic. The tune has been played billions of times in the past 3 decades, and is also one of the 2 Christmas songs to ever reach number 1 on the Billboard's Hot 100, joining the Chipmunk song Christmas Don't Be Late. Another diamond certified album in store with 1995's Daydream, which also nominated for Album of the Year at the Grammys. Its first single, Fantasy, debuted at number 1, followed another chart topper, Always Be My Baby. Carey broke new record with One Sweet Day, her first collaboration track on the album, and she wrote and performed a Grammy-nominated song with R&B group Boyz II Men. Another number 1 hit, One Sweet Day, topped the Billboard Hot 100 with 16 consecutive weeks. Final 90s albums, Butterfly and Rainbow. 2 years after Daydream, Carey released Butterfly, that resulted in her 12th number 1 hit, Honey. The Sean Diddy Combs produced track demonstrated Carey's continued interest in hip-hop and R&B. Butterfly also followed Daydream as her second album to debut at the top spot of the Billboard 200. In 1998, she and fellow pop diva Whitney Houston recorded a duet, When You Believe, for the animated movie The Prince of Egypt, and the tune later won the Academy Award for Best Original Song through the Trophy recognized the writer and lyricist Stephen Schwartz. Carey rounded out the decade with seventh album Rainbow 1999. Many artists pitched in, such as Jay-Z, Usher, Missy Elliott, and Snoop Dogg. Then October, her duet with Jay-Z, Heartbreaker, joined her ever-growing number one list of number one songs. With this, she surpassed Michael Jackson to become second only to the Beatles for the most number one songs in the United States, whereas Jackson racked up 13 chart toppers in the span of 23 years. Carey recorded her 14 hits in just 9 years. In the 2000s, the emancipation of Mimi and more. In the early 2000s, Carey hopped around record labels. In 2001, she signed a deal with Virgin Records, owned by EMI, and reported $80 million. The partnership lasted less than a year, though she did not before the release of the Glitter soundtrack. The singer reportedly walked away from Virgin Records with nearly $50 million as a part of her severance agreement. And in May of 2002, she signed a new deal with Universal Music Group's Island and Def Jam Records. And the business ended her career with newly secured. Carey released Charm Bracelet in December of 2002. The initial reception launched the album to third place on the mainstream chart, but as one of his songs, Through the Rain, landed on Billboard Hot 100 at disappointing number 81. Carey went back to her chart-topping ways with 2005's Emancipation of Mimi. It became the best-selling album in the United States the same year, as it has now sold 7 million copies. Her 10th record included the mega hit We Belong Together, which stayed at number one for 14 weeks and won 2 Grammy Awards in 2006. The Emancipation of Mimi was also named the best contemporary R&B album, bringing Carey's overall Grammy tally to 5. Her follow-up, EMC 2008, E equals MC squared 2008, proved that she could still produce a platinum certified album with nearly 2 decades into her career. Touch My Body became another number one song as Bye Bye cracked the Hot 100's top 20. E equals MC squared 2 is her fourth and most recent album to debut at number one on the Billboard 200. The next year, she released Memoirs of an Imperfect Angel to relatively most modest success. Later albums since 2010, Carey, once a white-hot career, has cooled somewhat. Her second holiday album, Merry Christmas to You, arrived that year. Me and I, Mariah, the exclusive chanteuse, 2014, marked her first original music in 5 years, and it followed by 2 Las Vegas residencies and 2018's Caution. Her 15th studio album, her mentioned on several albums of the year lists. Carey's latest release have included a compilation album and Christmas special recording, a few anniversary editions of her 90s albums. In 2022, she inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Carey returned to Vegas for a third residency in spring and summer 2024. Dubbed the Celebration of Mimi, the residency included 16 shows. And Carey holds the record for the most number one songs on the Billboard Hot 100 by a solo artist with 19 chart-topping tracks. She has shot a Beatles overall record, and Carey held the top spot in 4 decades, from 1990s into the 2020s, making her the first artist to accomplish this feat, and well aware of her airwave dominance. Carey even released a compilation album in November 1998 of her number one hits up to that point, and it was approximately titled number ones. In December 2019, Carey achieved another milestone with her enduring holiday song All Over Christmas Is You, topped the charts 25 years after the release, setting a new Billboard record for longevity. And Carey's number one songs on the Hot 100 in chronological order are Vision of Love, Love Takes Time, Someday, I Don't Want to Cry, Emotions, I'll Be There, Dream Lover, Hero, Fantasy, One Sweet Day, Always Be My Baby, Honey, My All, Heartbreaker, Thank God I Found You featuring Joe, and 98 Degrees, We Belong Together, Don't Forget About Us, Touch My Body, and All I Want for Christmas Is You. Movies. After appearing in The Bachelor in 1999, She starred in the semi-autobiographical Glitter in 2001, and Carey recorded the accompanying soundtrack album in addition in acting in a lead role. Month before Glitter was due in theaters, Carey was hospitalized and canceled for a public appearance to promote the movie, and the release of Glitter was subsequently pushed back from late August to late September 2001. Neither the movie nor the soundtrack generated much attraction. Carey didn't stop acting there. She also had roles in the mild drama Wise Girls in 2002 with Marina Sorvino, and the indie flick Tennessee, and the Oscar-winning drama Precious in 2009, another Lee Daniels drama The Butler in 2013. And for Precious, Carey transformed into a high glamour diva persona into nearly unrecognizable welfare caseworker and delivered her career best performance. 2015, Christmas starred in and directed A Christmas Melody, a holiday movie on the Hallmark Channel 2 years later. How about that, guy? Uh, 2 years later, Carey lent her legendary voice into the roles of two animated movies, the Lego Batman movie and The Star. She also made cameos in comedies You Don't Mess with Zohan, Pops in 2008, and Pop Star Never Stop Stopping in 2016, and Girls Trip in 2017. American Idol and Mariah's World. The hero singer appeared in various TV shows in 2012. She was chosen for new judge in season 12 of popular reality competition series American Idol, seated alongside Randy Jackson, Nicki Minaj, and Keith Urban. Ultimately didn't enjoy the gig, and it was the worst experience of my life, Carey later said. Pitting two females against each other wasn't cool, and it should have been about just the contestants instead of about some non-existent feud. In 2013, Carey voiced the character in 3 episodes of animated TV series American Dad. 3 years later, she launched the Sweet Sweet Fantasy Tour in Mariah's World, a TV docu-series on E! Network, which followed the European tour. Mariah Carey's net worth is estimated at $350 million, and bulk of her wealth stems from her music career royalties from All I Want for Christmas Is You, accounting for a considerable portion. Various news outlets have pegged her annual take-home $2.5 million and $3 million in 2023. A music industry veteran, the Associated Press, that tune which Carey co-wrote, which likely exceed to $100 million in lifetime earnings that holiday. And for judging one season of American Idol, Carey was reportedly paid $18 million elsewhere, and she secured a book deal for her 2020 memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey. I want to tell these stories, these moments, and ups and downs, triumphs and traumas, debacles and dreams that contributed to the person I am today, she wrote. She said in her book announcement. Mariah Carey's ex-husbands and kids. Currently single, Carey was married twice and has 2 kids. Mary and Tommy Mottola were married for 5 years from 1993 to 1998. She married music executive Tommy Mottola in a spectacular ceremony in Manhattan's St. Thomas Episcopal Church. Their relationship began professionally in the late 1980s. Mottola, then the president of Columbia Records, listened to Carey's demo tape and then quickly signed her to the label. And by 1991, they begun dating despite their 20-year age gap. Carey was 24, Mottola 43 when they tied the knot. The marriage was unhappy one for Carey, who since was described Mottola as controlling and then compared the marriage to prison. There was no freedom for me as a human being, she told Cosmopolitan in 2019, and it was almost like being a prisoner. The couple divorced in 1998, and Mottola wrote in his 2013 memo that their relationship was absolutely wrong and inappropriate. Carey and Nick Cannon got married after several weeks of dating. and later had 2 kids together. Carey's second husband and was a rapper and actor Nick Cannon, who was 10 years younger than she, and the pair began a whirlwind relationship after appearing in her music video for Bye Bye. And after dating for less than 2 months, the couple married in April 30th, 2008, a secret ceremony in the Bahamas. And soon Carey, after becoming pregnant, she reluctantly shared in the non-controversial 2008 interview on the Ellen DeGeneres show. She pressured Carey into announcing the pregnancy on air by revealing by offering her champagne. And I was extremely uncomfortable with that moment. That's all I could say, Carey told Virtue in 2020. And I really have had a hard time grappling with that aftermath. And the singer suffered a miscarriage, something that she had prior experience with after the TV appearance. And she hosted a 2016 Halloween party. Her ex-husband Nick Cannon and their twins, Monroe and Moroccan, attended. And Carey and Cannon did become parents. Carey announced they were expecting in October 2010, memorially perform a Christmas special with her baby bump on full display. The 41-year-old singer gave birth to twins on her 4th wedding and anniversary in April 2011. His daughter Monroe and his nickname Ro, and her son Moroccan goes by Rock. Stayed together for 6 years before announcing their separation in August 2014. The divorce was finalized in 2016, and the former couple has continued to co-parent their kids. In addition to her ex-husbands, Carey has other serious relationships. The Latin singer Luis Miguel for 3 years, began around 1998. She reportedly ended things in the summer 2001, and splitting for her second husband. Carey got engaged to Australian businessman James Packer in January 2016, but at October it was announced that the couple had split. Bipolar diagnosis. She was admitted into New York area hospital and put under psychiatric care after suffering what her publicist called a physical and emotional collapse. And she released from the hospital after 2 weeks, but not before she was diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder. And her mental health disease is a secret. She finally shared details in April 2018. Cover story for the People. And after 2001 diagnosis, the singer said she had refused to acknowledge it for years. Until recently, I live in denial and isolation and a constant fear of someone who would expose me. She said, and it was too heavy a burden to carry, and I simply could not do that anymore. And she turned things around after she finally reached out for help, and then she began undergoing therapy and taking medication regularly. And it was just in a good place right now where I'm comfortable discussing my struggles with bipolar 2 disorder. She said, I'm hopeful we can get into a place where the stigma is lifted from people going through that anything alone. And it could be incredibly isolating and it does not have to define you, and I refuse to allow it to define me or control me. Okay, so that is it for going over Mariah Carey's biography overall, her life, marriage, splitting, and everything, and her career of songs, reaching one of the only few female artists and vocalists that have 19 chart-chopping successful hit songs. So what are my thoughts about Mariah Carey? Now, here's the thing. I was personally not the biggest Mariah Carey fan in the world, but I knew how great of a talented of a vocalist she is. Of course, we've already known she had five vocal octaves. She was absolutely, a trailblazer of a R&B artist, and her vocal arrangement, she can sing live, she can sing in the studio. She's multi-talent any and everywhere, man. The first singles that I've heard from her was from her title album Emotions, and then I'll Be There, and then of course the cover from what she did in 1995 with her album with the song Fantasy. That's pretty much what the songs that I've heard from her, prior to me listening to her all of her solo albums. And my favorite from her solo albums was the album Butterfly and The Emancipation of Mimi, because it kind of really, in retrospective, was showing her vulnerable side, and I think that was just showcasing her vulnerable side, and she never really exposed that as much besides in the early 90s. And of course, that was like one of the biggest, and the Emancipation Mimi was like one of the few albums that just highlighted for me about overall her career. And it's always been a theme, from her in the past where, after she did appearance for being on that center stage for that celebrity guest for that celebrity guest show that she did in the past, that she had this diva mentality, this diva persona, and kind of, let me see. Oh, hold on, guys. I was just looking to point some things out. Yeah, so when she had joined, and later on, way down in life, when she did the American Idol competition series, it kind of was like she, and I heard this statement back in 2010 when she said that, it's like putting two female contestants against each other wasn't a because of the a little bit of a non-existent feud that the fans like to make up of her. That kind of was really a thing where fans, and even before that time as well, kind of had this kind of mentality, this persona. And even when she was in interviews talking about even her ex husband, including Nick Cannon, she kind of brushed it off the rug, brushed it off to the side as well. And of course, the whole thing that happened with the beef in 2009, which they didn't mention with you know, when she made the song "Obsessed" with Eminem and everything, she kind of threw a little shade, a little salt or shade at him too. And then that's when he ended up making that other song that kind of was dissing both her and The Warning, which is her and Eminem as well. It kind of really made fans kind of not really was really beside of with them going with Eminem and going against her. But at the same time, at that time, that's kind of like the overall kind of glimpse and feeling of what I had of her, just overall personality wise. But overall, as a hit maker, as a songwriter, as a hit maker, she just was really phenomenal and talented, all the way through. They also kind of made comparisons back then in the late 80s and early 90s to her and Whitney Houston, and I kind of was always against that because they both were made two different genres of music. Mariah was more heavier in the mainstream, more heavier pop act, where Whitney Houston was mainly solely R&B and just and well, she made church music, then she made solely R&B, and then she just pretty much straight stayed in that lane and and that certain path going moving forward. And that's where I kind of didn't understand the comparisons, because they both made two different genres, and two different styles of music at two different vocal and octave ranges and different tones. So I never really understood that comparison at the time, you know. But they both was very, very legendary and very talented in their own ways. Um, and I was happy at the time for of all the success that Mariah Carey did, because she pretty much she pretty much did all the things she accomplished, you know, massively charted and massively successful, and also, had a massive net worth at $350 million. And due to the fact that her biggest song, biggest Christmas theme song, you know, became remastered and reissued. All I Want for Christmas, he became reissued and remastered, massively overplayed, but still was still at the top of the charts so long. It just catapulted her career and boosted her. So for me, I was, over time, re-listening to all of these songs, in my spare time, while I'm like running errands or going to the gym or whatnot. I really just like seeing and envisioning and invoking just hearing the passion that she was going through and hearing the energy and the rawness and the delivery and just the range that she does, and also, like I said before, even talking about my favorite album, but earlier on in her career, when she was making R&B, she was very vulnerable. Vision of Love, I Don't Want to Cry, Emotions. She was very vulnerable. Love Takes Time. She was very vulnerable in that earlier span of her career, and I really appreciated that from her. Exposing just the side of her that really, not a lot of artists, especially even towards in the mainstream, was able to do. You know, and also being at the same time very accessible. And to me, that was something that I appreciated from her a lot more than any other artist that she ended up getting compared and compatible with. Um, and later on in her career, I wasn't really following her music after a while. Like me and Mariah, the exclusive Chanteuse and Merry Christmas to You and E equals MC too. I wasn't really all the way up on her after that because I kind of was listening to so much other artists and I actually dabbled in the different genres. So that was kind of like a thing that I just did not wasn't really listening to Mariah after 2005, 2006. I kind of really just stopped after that point, and I kind of just was going into other things and listening to other genres of music. So that just kind of was just a thing for me. Wasn't really following up on that part. But her album Rainbow was like one of the biggest charting success albums, which put her in the spot next to the Beatles and Michael Jackson with the number one hit songs. And I really did like to do it with her and Jay-Z, Heartbreaker. That was another one of my top 5 favorite songs from her, if I didn't mention that already. So, yeah, would I recommend Mariah Carey to, fans, to other content creators or anybody who is looking to check her out? Absolutely. I would definitely recommend Mariah to most people who have not heard of her, who have heard of her, who in their spare time listen to her, man, because she has a lot of good stuff. It took has a lot of good songs, a lot of good top chart topping songs as well that deserve to be where they at. So yeah, I recommend Mariah Carey. She definitely has a lot of things, a lot of qualities, a lot of talent amongst her. Very talented vocalist, on stage performer is just amazing. One of the best on stage performers to ever do it. So I would recommend her. Am I still like the biggest fan of hers? Like not all the way necessarily. And would I put her in the top 10 of R&B singers? Yeah, I'm gonna put her in there. She definitely has those kind of qualities for her, man. She 5 octave range. She massively successful. So yeah, I recommend her. And for anybody who has not heard of her, I don't know how, but yeah, please check her out if you haven't. But I'm pretty sure everybody has. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Mariah Carey and all of that. So the next artist I'm going to talk about is an artist by the name of H.E.R. And I'm going to be very brief with her having everything revealed. I'm going to be very, very brief with her. Let me see. I'm going to be very brief. I've been on here pretty long. So H.E.R., Born June 27, 1997, Vallejo, California, is an American singer, songwriter, musician, and actress who emerged as a leading R&B artist in the 2010s. We were known for her vocal range, intimidating balance, and persona. Born Gabriella Sarmino Wilson and grew up in Vallejo, California, was located in the San Francisco Bay. Her mother is Filipina, and her father is black. Wilson began performing at a young age with her father, a musician who took her to private gigs. At the age of 10, she performed Alicia Keys' If I Ain't Got You" on the Today Show, and she later appeared on other TV programs including The View. In addition to Keys, her musical influences include Prince and B.B. King, just talked about. And Wilson signed with Sony's RCA Records at the age of 14, and she released her first single, "Something to Prove," in 2014. In addition to being a vocalist and songwriter, Wilson plays several instruments, including piano, bass, drums, and guitar. In September 2016, Wilson released her debut 7-track EP, H.E.R. Volume 1, the recording under the name H.E.R, which stands for Having Everything Revealed. Wilson sought to keep her true identity anonymous, because she wanted people to hear the music for what it is and not have any judgments and make assumptions. However, fans quickly confirmed that H.E.R was Wilson, linked to the cover of Drake's single "Jungle" that she had performed as Gabriella Wilson. To cover the same song on the EP, H.E.R Volume 1 garnered attention, and it peaked at number 12 on the Billboard R&B albums chart. It was praised for its confessional lyrics. In an interview with the Los Angeles Times, H.E.R said that she wanted women to really feel how honest and vulnerable I am, and had to understand that they are not alone, that they are all human emotions. After another EP, H.E.R Volume 2 appeared in June 2017. The work, which featured a number of ballads and a staple for her music, and also proved popular. And several months later, H.E.R launched her first leading headlining tour, self-titled compilation featuring both EPs and a collection of B-sides, which released in October 2017. And 2 years later, won the Grammy Award for Best R&B Album. In addition, the song "Best Part" named Best R&B Performance. And in 2018, H.E.R released EP "I Used to Know Her," the prelude, and "I Used to Know Her Part 2," and embarked on that tour that year. Her follow-up, a compilation that contained the two EPs worth additional songs, appeared in 2019. And in 2020, H.E.R debuted "I Can't Breathe," a protest song that responded to high-profile cases of police brutality against African Americans. Following that year, the track won the Grammy for Song of the Year. In addition, "Better Than I Imagined" named Best R&B Song. Those awards helped make 2021 especially notable. That year, she also performed "America the Beautiful" at the Super Bowl. And in April, she won the Academy Award for Best Original Song. "Fight for You," a soulful single. She contributed to the soundtrack Judas and the Black Messiah. And in 2021 and 2022, the track won for Best Traditional R&B Performance. In addition, June 2021, Wilson released her first full-length album, "Back of My Mind," which debuted at number 1 on Billboard's R&B albums charts. The work featured collaborations with various artists, including Chris Brown and Lil Baby. And in 2024, H.E.R performed with Usher at the Super Bowl halftime show. Acting, she was worked as an actor, her persona, and appeared in Nick Cannon's made-for-TV movie School Girls in 2009, premiered on Nickelodeon in 2022, starred as Belle and Josh Groban in Beauty and the Beast TV special, Squeak, a musical adaptation of Alice Walker's The Color Purple, starring Fantasia Barrino, Taraji P. Henson, Daniel Brooks, and Carmen Domingo. She's also in the Netflix show We the People. And for her work on the series, H.E.R won a Children's and Family Emmy Award for Outstanding Short Form Program in 2022. And that is pretty much it for that. H.E.R is one of my favorite up and coming acts today. She is just fantastic. Very good guitar player, and very keen on speaking out, against in the black community, and speaking so much as far as against police brutality and speaking out. And she also has been in, you know, commercials, past songs in commercials as well. In addition, um, so my favorite songs from her is "I Can't Breathe," "Fight for You," "Better I'd Imagine," and "Come Through" with Chris Brown. Those are my favorite songs. And yeah, those are just a little bit of biography for her. And yeah, I definitely would recommend her, Gabriella Wilson. She is definitely phenomenal. And the last artist that I'm gonna talk about before I leave is this guy, Alfonso Hunter. Alfonso Hunter was born in 1973 in Chicago, Illinois. Hunter was the first artist to release an album on Def Jam Squad Records, and the record label formed by Def Squad and Eric Sermon. Alfonso Hunter released his debut album Black of the Berry in 1996 on Def Squad Records label. Hunter got his first big start in the R&B industry with Keith Henderson, the music director for R. Kelly, and near the backup singer for R. Kelly. He tried out for a position and got the opportunity to work with R. Kelly doing backups for 6 months. Despite the opportunity to work with R. Kelly, Alfonso stayed in school and attended Roosevelt University in Chicago, where he learned music production and engineering. And when Hunter was finally signed and released his debut album, he scored two moderate hits on the R&B charts. The first single, "Just the Way," reached number 31 on the R&B charts, and number 85 on the Hot 100. The album's second single, "Weekend Thing," reached number 35 on the R&B charts and 90 on the Hot 100. The album was the most successful enough that Alfonso began to work on the second album. However, Def Squad moved to Motown and EMI closed, and Hunter was not able to release his second album. Yeah, that's probably one of the most underappreciated artists that had never had to get his career kicked off of the ground, man. And Black of the Berry was a very solid album in '96. I wanted to talk about this guy because I really appreciate what he did, you know, for just his debut album and working with guys like Eric Sermon and also the
Hello, Moto.